I want to give you the definitive take on Bill Clinton. Now, wait, don't leave me. And believe me, you've never heard this. This is going to be 5 minutes of a take that you've never heard. Sit down. Try to devoid yourself of anything you've ever heard about Bill Clinton. I know you love him. I know that he's been called the president of the world by people like the guy over on MSNBC, Hee Haw, Chris Matthews. But I just want you to set everything aside and try to listen to me, if you could, objectively for 5 minutes. Point number one. Let's just talk about the women. Juanita Broderick is a woman who used to run nursing homes in Arkansas. She went on Dateline NBC. Did you forget about this? And she alleged that Bill Clinton, who was then the Attorney General, raped her. Not attempted rape, raped her. Now, we're watching all these women who are in the military right now testify about the allegations that they were sexually assaulted. Many of them never reported anything. We believe them, as I think we ought to. But Juanita Broderick is like a dead fly. Nobody even thinks about her. She wasn't writing a book. Bill Clinton was also accused of sexual assault or sexual battery by Kathleen Willey. Remember when she went on 60 Minutes? Ed Bradley interviewed her, and she said that Bill Clinton took her hand and put it on his erect genitalia. And Ed Bradley, the correspondent who interviewed her, said, was he aroused? She said he was. That's a sexual battery. And the next day, I think it was, Gloria Steinem, the feminist, wrote a piece that was published in the New York Times that said, frankly, that wasn't sexual harassment. And she said the reason it wasn't sexual harassment is because when Bill Clinton did what he did, and she said, assuming everything that Kathleen Willey says is true, when Bill Clinton did what he did, he then stopped after she protested. So therefore it wasn't sexual harassment. Are you kidding me? In other words, if I see an attractive, fulsome woman walking down the street, I can put my hand on where I ought not put it, and when she objects, as long as I remove it, I'm home free? My point is, this is the pretzel into which people twisted themselves to defend this man. Finally, sexual harassment. Paula Jones. Paula Jones said he took his hand and put it up her dress. She was an employee of the government, and she claims after she resisted him, she was adversely affected at work because of this. That was why there was this whole lawsuit against him, which, by the way, the Supreme Court ruled could proceed even though Bill Clinton was in office. The Supreme Court ruled unanimously the lawsuit could proceed. So you had, on the one hand, Bill Clinton being investigated for whitewater. I won't bore you with that. On the other hand, you have this lawsuit. Well, they both crashed into each other, and the prosecutor named Ken Starr was informed of this allegation that Bill Clinton had had this affair with this intern. Now, the reason this was important for Paula Jones is that she was arguing that Bill Clinton did this. He was denying it. How do you prove sexual harassment? You prove it by something called quid pro quo and by past practices and future practices. And so it's important that you have yet another woman who works for him, Monica Lewinsky, apparently being rewarded for sexual entreaties for Bill Clinton. Paula Jones was punished. That's why the lawsuit was going on. My point is really this. I don't want to get this too confusing. 3 different women had made 3 very serious allegations against him. Rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment. But we don't even care. Herman Cain, remember when he was running for a Republican nomination for president? 3 women came forward and said that he had had an affair with them. Not that he had raped them, not that he had sexually assaulted them, not that he had sexually harassed them, but that he had had an affair. He was gone. Why is there this no-fly zone over Bill Clinton? It blows my mind. And yet you have Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the chairwoman of the DNC, blasting away at Republicans. Why? Because they're waging a war against women. Todd Akin, remember the Democrat that used the term legitimate rape? He gets run out of town for using a term legitimate rape. He was never accused of rape. Okay, second thing about Bill Clinton. I guess the reason he gets this pass is because the economy did so well under his watch, and it did. But does he deserve all the credit? Remember, the first 2 years of his presidency, he governed the way Obama has been governing for the 5 years of his, left wing. Bill Clinton wanted to allow gays to serve openly in the military. However you feel about that, that's not what was on the agenda of the American people. And he spent 2 years trying to pass Hillary Care. And then because Republicans triumphed in 1994, in part because Americans were disgusted with the 2 years of the first part of the Clinton presidency because of his focus on these issues they thought were unimportant, Republicans took over the House, and Bill Clinton, unlike Obama, moved to the center. Look at some of the things he did. He ended the luxury tax that, for reasons that escape me, George Herbert Walker Bush had imposed, 10% tax on high-end items. He got rid of it. He lowered capital gains. Have you forgotten that? From 28% to 20%. Huge drop. Over the objections of many of his party who are anti-free traders, protectionists, he signed NAFTA and GATT. Over the objections of his party, he signed the Welfare Reform Act of 1996 after twice vetoing similarly worded bills. These would not have happened had it not been for the pressure that Newt Gingrich and Republicans put on him. So I give him credit for moving to the center because Obama has not, but for that pressure, but for the fear that Bill Clinton was not going to be reelected in 1996, he would not have moved to the center. So I think at least half of this credit deserves to go to Newt Gingrich and the boys, don't you think? And remember, they shut down the government. And Republicans got blamed, but when it was reopened with a smaller budget than it otherwise would have been. That's why Bill Clinton was able to balance the budget. That's why we had these projected surpluses, because of pressure Republicans put on him. So, okay, give him credit, but give at least a handoff to Newt Gingrich, you think? Now, finally, impeachment. Clinton has gotten people convinced that impeachment was a conspiracy of a part of a bunch of right-wingers to overturn 2 elections. Understand something. In the history of this republic, he's the only president elected ever to be impeached. Now, another one was impeached, but that was Andrew Johnson, who had taken over from Lincoln after Lincoln was assassinated, and he was impeached for petty political reasons. But he wasn't elected. And my point is simply this. Forget about all the details and the law, the legal shenanigans, and all that stuff. It is hard to get impeached. Every president has enemies. Reagan had enemies. W had enemies. Every president has enemies. But Bill Clinton has gotten people convinced that somehow a small cabal of people gathered around and impeached him for, quote, lying about sex under oath. Bill Clinton, as the President of the United States, is the #1 law enforcement officer of the country. If the President can lie under oath, then anybody can lie under oath. And why was he under oath in the first place? Because of the sexual harassment lawsuit that had been filed by Paula Jones. So what Bill Clinton was basically saying to people is, you can lie about sex, you can lie in court and deny a woman an opportunity to prove that you sexually harassed her. And I, Bill Clinton, am the pro-woman person. I'm the guy that came to L.A. when Wendy Gruhl, who was a candidate for L.A. mayor, used me as her #1 surrogate. And she often argued that people in L.A. should elect her because she's a woman. So here I am, having been accused, in summary, of rape, having been accused of sexual assault, having been accused of sexual harassment, having settled a sexual harassment lawsuit for $800,000 when I said it had no real value, and having been impeached for lying under oath to thwart a lawsuit against a woman accusing me of sexual harassment. But I'm the guy, I'm the Democratic icon. Can you just all think a little bit about that the next time you see Bill Clinton walk into a room and people stand up and give him a standing ovation? I'm just asking.